Something about love, something about us.
Very much. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on the Jabari Vok Media Unsavory Politik. Today we have a special episode, very important episode, very important. It is Alex Suarez, our co-host, last show. And he's going on to better, great opportunities. He's not going to be a stranger. He's going to come back. So let's give it to my guy right here, Alex Suarez. Thank you so much for all the time and effort that we have put into this show, man. From YouTube, Roku TV, and back to YouTube.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure, comrade. I wrote a special opening statement for this evening that I'd like to share with you all. You can hear me okay?
Yep.
Great. Good evening, friends and comrades. I wanted to make an opening statement, which I usually do not do, occasion which has my final farewell to the program as its co-host, although down the line I intend to return as a guest. Other obligations impede me from continuing on in this capacity. I have facilitated these past months, both on our platform Roku TV and on YouTube, the appearance of guests that have contributed to the cause and shared their knowledge with our viewers, helping to educate and build awareness, essentially planting the seeds for the revolutionary change we so desperately need here in the U.S. empire to inspire the change for future generations. It has been both an honor and a privilege to, alongside Comrade Jamar, help spread the truth that so many need to hear, especially, as I pointed out in my speech at the invitation of the Hoodoo movement in November 2023, the youth. This youth needs to hear the truth and should not be manipulated by the so-called MAG communists or any other group that revises history and tries to make black white or white black. With principles, we strive for this cause, this sacred cause, this sacred struggle, this sacred history. Whether it's for the ending of lawfare against activists, such as the case of Assange or Saab, a diplomat and journalist in their own right, now both free men, or ending the persecution of immigrants, Khalil's a free man as well. We cherish the victories, but keep fighting. To end the deportations of ICE, the modern Gestapo, and the formation of their despicable concentration camps, such as here in Florida, the so-called Alligator Alcatraz, we must go beyond unity towards the true solidarity. We must put the petty differences to the side. As the environmental and nuclear threat persists, we must do it for the very survival of one race, the human race, before it is too late. But if I had to decide to go down fighting or not fight at all, I would do the former, even if I knew we were inevitably bound to lose. It is better to have tried and given it your all than to have been a defeatist and remained in your armchair. This is the essence of a revolutionary, to act, not just speak, to build movement, not just rely on the electoral. I look to the struggle of Latin America with hope. As I witness Venezuela's electoral process, I know the left can unite and succeed. The implications for such a possibility being here in the U.S. empire and the lengths that could reach to change the world puts fear in the hearts of the imperialists. But as Che Guevara said once, I cannot help that my blood bleeds red and my heart is to the left of my chest. Let the red of socialism, the history of the blood spilled of those before us, inspire us to continue the struggle of struggles. And I would like to present Comrade Eb Smith, the campaign manager for Kshama Sawant's congressional campaign. Comrade Sawant could not make it this time, but I hope she can appear on a future show. We're honored to have Comrade Smith present.
Hey everyone, really good to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. And for people that don't, for the listeners that are, well, you know, this is a very revolutionary platform. For the non-revolutionary listeners that don't already know, that don't know about Kshama Sawant, she was in the city council for Seattle, and you guys were the first to do the 15 with minimum wage.
You're talking about the minimum wage, yeah.
Yeah, Kshama, she was elected as a socialist, as the first socialist in almost 100 years to the Seattle City Council back in 2013. She led the movement for the highest minimum wage in the country, which at that time was the first $15 minimum wage in any major city back in 2014. But because we fought for inflation adjustments and we fought against big business and the Democratic Party that wanted to take those inflation adjustments out of that law, we fought for those. And so now the minimum wage in Seattle is $20.76 for all workers in Seattle.
Wow. Okay, so that even went higher.
But isn't the cost of living in Seattle kind of high, right? You're still fighting for it to go even higher than that, right?
Absolutely. And it's high everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, it is criminal, the fact that we still have a $7.25 minimum wage anywhere in this country. Even $15, people can't survive on that. That's exactly why we fought for those inflation adjustments. And this is, Alex said something in the intro about, how do we respond to the huge crisis that we have? And we have the Holocaust of the 21st century happening in Gaza right now. We have mass deportations. We have crippling healthcare costs of people. And we need to fight back. And, we don't need to go down fighting because we see what victory looks like. We see that it's possible. And so, there is the possibility to win huge victories and to change the system entirely. But it's going to require working people getting organized. It's going to require a movement. We've seen it with the fight for the minimum wage in Seattle, for the Amazon tax, for renters' rights. We need to build that movement nationally and internationally to end the genocide, to stop the deportations, to fight for free healthcare by taxing the rich, to fight for rent control. That's exactly what Shama's independent campaign for Congress is about, is building that movement nationally.
Yeah, I'd like to mention also that Comrade Chris Richards should be on momentarily. But I always like to counter the narrative, the bourgeois narrative that in the United States, you have to be a Democrat or Republican to get in any, official office. And, whenever they say that, I use Kshama Sawant's example, that she was in city council for 10 years and now she's running for Congress. So movement building is important, but electoralism has its space as well. For example, Venezuela for a long time was a two-party system. Then you had the Chavista movement into the late 90s. As I mentioned in my statement, I witnessed the electoral process firsthand. I went down to Venezuela 4 years ago for their regional elections. So, the left in that country got their act together. They had been divided for a long time. They had been dominated by the oligarchic two principal parties, conservatives and liberals. The socialists weren't given a voice. But with the Chavista movement, that all changed. And I say, why can't that be done here? They're a good example.
And it is crucial that we point to these examples of, we have such a wealth of examples.
Hopefully, Comrade Dust will be back momentarily. I know he's with his son there, but go ahead, Comrade.
I was just going to say, we have seen over and over the misleaders in the Democratic Party, the misleaders in the union leadership and the NGO leadership fail over and over, betray working people over and over. That's what people see every day. That's why we see this demoralization among some people because we've seen these sellouts. And so it's crucial, actually, that we point to the example of Shama in Seattle, someone who ran as an independent, who built movements of working people, who didn't sell out to the Democratic Party or big business or the corporate landlords, but built movements against them and won real concrete victories. I mean, billions of dollars. That's what this represents, this highest minimum wage in the country, as well as the Amazon tax, which raises hundreds of millions of dollars every year to go to affordable housing. That's money into the pockets of working people. These renters' rights, just for example, these are things that people, might not know about, but it used to be the case that corporate landlords in Seattle would charge people. We heard stories of people getting charged $75 a day if they were late on their rent. So if you're late on rent 2 weeks, you owe over $1,000 in late fees on top of your rent. We capped that at $10 a month. So that is hundreds or thousands of dollars of money going into working people's pockets from the corporate landlords, from big business. That's what's possible when you have an independent who actually stands with working and oppressed people instead of big business and, this careerist, trend and these careerists that we see like AOC and Bernie Sanders who aren't fighting back. They're not standing up.
Look how AOC just voted, right? I mean, that says it all.
Yeah. $500 million that she could have voted to to stop that spending, stop that military funding going to fund this genocide. That we have to be clear, that is a pro-genocide vote. That is AOC voting for genocide. And we have to be very clear about that is a red line. And you cannot call yourself a socialist. You cannot call yourself a representative of working people if you're voting for genocide.
And by the way, why are you going to fund Iron Dome when it doesn't work? We know it doesn't work because of Iran's retaliatory strikes into Israel, right?
And we have to break the narrative too that Iron Dome or Arrow or David's Sling are defensive systems. These are military weapons that Israel uses to carry out genocide, to carry out war in the region.
It facilitates the genocide.
Right.
Its very existence does that. Yes.
Yeah. We should
I wanted to mention
this idea that this is a defensive weapon.
Yeah, I also wanted to mention like the importance of what you're saying about just how there are successful socialist candidates that have made it in some form of office all over the country as well too. And we also have to mention that the Democrats make it very, very hard for any third party candidate to run in any form of office.
I mean, actually, because Comrade Smith, if you prefer, the Green Party, right? Because obviously, the Democrats have sabotaged the Green Party in North Carolina. Dust can talk to that. He lives in North Carolina.
I was just going to bring that up. Yeah. And we interviewed Matthew Hull, who was a victim.
This is my question, though. Has there been any type of alliance between the Greens and the Socialists, the Revolutionary Workers that Comrade Suarez with now? Is there any type of alliance going on in Seattle with them?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is how we've won victories. Any of these victories, whether it's renters' rights or the Amazon tax or the highest minimum wage, we won it by building movements of working people. And I think we have to, we shouldn't counterpose the idea of running in elections and building social movements, because these things have to be connected. This is where we've seen, I think, the failure of even genuine people who run for office is that they don't then use that platform to build movements, to call for mass protests, to call for civil disobedience, to call for strike action, to organize regular working people towards a clear fighting demand, like free healthcare for all by taxing the rich, like rent control, like free mass transit. Putting forward these clear demands that speak to the needs of working people, organizing that movement against the rich, against both of their parties, and using the power of mass movements connected with that office to win those victories. That's how we did it, by combining this, not by separating out the idea of electoralism from social movements, but bringing those together and building the movement as a whole to win these victories.
Yeah, but the people distinguish between the two usually because they see politicians, especially careerists. Some of them call themselves leftists, but they're not by any means revolutionaries, and they only show up to the community when it's time for an electoral race. If you're building a movement that's consistent with activists and revolutionaries, then they won't just show up when they want to get elected. You know what I mean? So that's what they distinguish it. They're like, okay, well, this is just electoralism. That's the only time they show up. They're being opportunist. But the ones that are sincere, that really care, the revolutionaries, they'll back candidates, but at the same time, there'll be a consistent movement throughout the year.
Yeah, and the fact is, we are not going to win victories without those movements. One person in office just trying to make deals behind closed doors, that is a recipe for getting sucked into the Democratic Party, for selling out working people. And in order to fight, in order to win anything, you need the power of mass movements. This is about, all of these victories, it's about what is the balance of forces? What is the strength of big business and the Democratic Party fighting against these demands? And what is the strength of working people, of union members and socialists and regular working people packing City Hall, marching, rallying, putting mass pressure and threatening the careers and the stability of the system of the Democrats and the Republicans, and forcing that change and winning those victories. That is how you do it. And just, for example, we saw a huge movement out in New York with Zoran Mamdani getting elected, defeating, winning the primary, defeating Andrew Cuomo, all of the millions of dollars that came from Michael Bloomberg and all these billionaires, big business.
You think they could pick somebody better than Cuomo, who's been totally disgraced?
Right.
This is the Democrats. I don't get it.
Oh, it's rotten. But these people get into office. I mean, Shama, the person that she's running against is Adam Smith. I don't know if you have.
I don't know much about politics in Washington State. Yeah.
So Adam Smith is a total warmonger. He's one of the biggest warmongers in Congress.
Zionist?
Yeah, he's a Zionist, and he's a Democrat.
Yeah.
He was the head of the House Armed Services Committee under Joe Biden. So he personally approved all of the tens of billions of dollars that went to fund that genocide. He voted for the Iraq War. He voted to establish ICE in 2002. He gets money from Palantir. He gets money from right-wing billionaires like Joe Lonsdale, who donated $1 million to Trump, like Alexander Karp, the CEO of Palantir, that just donated $1 million to Trump's super PAC. His number one donor last year was AIPAC, the pro-genocide Zionist organization that gave him over $300,000 to fund his campaign. That's who he's funded by. That's who he represents. And so that's what we're up against. And so when you look at something like Zoran Mamdani's victory, I mean, working people were able to defeat Cuomo because of that movement. Adam Smith is not going to be defeated on his own. The Democratic Party is not going to be defeated.
Well, he did use different methods than Comrade Sawant is using, because he did join the Democratic Party.
And that's exactly what I was going to get to. The question is, he ran on these demands, $30 an hour, free mass transit,
right.
city-owned grocery stores. But it's a different question of running on those demands. That's crucial. But how do you win that? And that's what we've shown in Seattle. That's what Shama has shown over and over again, is that building those movements is crucial. And otherwise, there will be a selling out of working people. And so, I mean, just to give an example of how Mamdani could have already used this platform to build those movements, the week after he won this primary, where he had 50,000 people who signed up to volunteer, he had 20,000 donors, and the week after he won that primary, the New York Rent Control Board voted to increase rents in New York by 3%. He's running on a rent freeze, and so we need to use those platforms, socialists, and this is how Shama has used her platforms. Is he should have called for all those 50,000 volunteers to pack that rent control board, to organize a mass rally outside of it demanding a rent freeze, and to fight to stop that. That's how socialists should use their campaigns. That's how representatives of working people should use their campaigns to actually win these victories.
And what did he do instead? I haven't been following it closely. He didn't do anything?
Unfortunately, I think he started to walk back some of his more fighting rhetoric. So he, after he won the election, he started talking about how he's going to be a mayor for all of New York, and he's going to business leaders that actually something like $30 an hour is in their interests. Something like a tax on big business is. I see him
as a progressive, and you can have some allies that are progressive, but he's not a real socialist. So when they were attacking him as a socialist, I said, I wish he was one.
Right. And unfortunately, too many, union leaders and even movement leaders, who are active in the movement, but are in the leadership of these various organizations, they fail to talk about this stuff. They fail to talk about the way that AOC is sold out, and they carry water for those progressive Democrats. But we are never going to convince the Democratic Party. We're never going to convince big business to give us a $30 minimum wage.
What's the insanity of bipartisanism? This is the insanity of bipartisanism. A crazy nut job named MTG is now officially to the left of AOC when it comes to Palestine. That's how crazy it is.
Yeah, and we should be clear about who Marjorie Taylor Greene is. I mean, she is deeply reactionary. She is no friend of working people. But it is deeply cynical for AOC to use that as an excuse for voting for genocide. This is the excuse that she said that I wouldn't vote for that amendment because Marjorie Taylor Greene sponsored it. And yet she feels comfortable voting with Richie Torres and Adam Smith and all of these right-wing Republicans who voted against that amendment as well, Zionist Democrats who voted for that. You feel comfortable voting for them, but you aren't going to vote to cut $500 million of aid from Israel, from this military spending of tens of billions of dollars that the U.S. has sent. No, I mean, it's totally unacceptable. It is a complete sellout. It's a pro-genocide vote. We have to reject it and then put forward, explain to people and tell people about the kind of movement that Shama has built, the victories that she's won, right. Counterexample to that kind of misleadership.
And I have to say, we got.
But go ahead. Say what you want to say.
Yeah, we got about one minute left in the segment. I wanted to mention also that when it comes to Ocasio-Cortez, Sabi Sabes said something that was very, very important when I interviewed her. She said that Ocasio-Cortez really is not a part of the working class. She was part of a startup and has entrepreneur endeavors, and her partner is also very wealthy as well too. So it was
And she
just
was
mostly
never
the
really a
rules are the whole
bartender.
part of it.
She was
Right.
co-owner
Yeah.
of that bar. So that
But
myth, working class bartender, was all false.
But there
Right.
will also be working people who have careerist ambitions who sell out as well. And we see this actually with, Eric Adams is talking about this, as how, he grew up as some poor working class kid. But look what he's done. I mean, he's totally attacked working people. He's called the cops on anti-genocide protesters. So we need to be looking at, not so much, I think, is this person working class or are they not? That's important. But also, what is the strategy that they're using? How are they using their positions? How are they fighting against big business and the Democrats and the Republicans to win these demands? And that's, I know we have limited time left, but one thing to demonstrate the real difference is that Shama, alongside of her independent campaign, which, by the way, she has pledged in all of her campaigns to take only the average worker's wage when she's elected to office, donating the rest of it to social movements, to union strike funds, to organizing drives. But alongside of her congressional campaign,
I admire that.
Yeah, and that should be the standard for any union leader, any elected official should do that. We can't have these officials getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars. They're completely out of touch with the needs of working people. Right. But beyond that, alongside of her congressional campaign, Shama's leading a ballot initiative in Seattle to tax the rich $5 billion a year, raise the Amazon tax that we won back in 2020, raise that by $5 billion a year, tax business to fund free healthcare for every single person in Seattle as a launch pad to win free healthcare nationally. So she's actually, fighting concretely for victories in Seattle at the same time that she's running this congressional campaign. We have now over 1,500 donors to this campaign from all 50 states and Washington, D.C. and Puerto Rico. Everybody watching this should go donate, whether you can donate $1,000 or $5 or $1, whatever you can give. We need every single person nationally to chip into this campaign, because that's the kind of
make sure I'll put the link in the bio.
A national campaign to elect an independent socialist to office who's fighting for these things like ending U.S. military aid.
By the way, Chris Smalls, is he still being held? Because you were mentioning Amazon. He's the head of the Amazon union.
Yeah.
Is he still being held by the Zionists? He was on that latest flotilla.
I think so. I haven't seen the latest reporting, but that's another good point. We have to connect this to the labor movement. We need Amazon workers and Boeing workers and workers internationally to build this movement. It's really inspiring to see workers out in Turkey and Greece and France who have refused to load weapons onto ships that are headed to the Israeli state to fund the genocide or to supply the genocide. And they've refused to load those weapons. We need that kind of strike action, that kind of workplace action everywhere, of workers refusing to make these weapons.
Was it the port of Oakland at one point refused to send weapons to Israel during the genocide, right?
Yeah, I think it was the longshore workers there.
Yeah,
but it needs to be much more coordinated.
Yeah.
We need mass movements to connect up with that as well. We should have mass protests anywhere we see that there's weapons being shipped to Israel. We should have workers taking action and then connecting that to mass movements, mass rallies in the streets to fight back and pointing towards the need for a new working class party, for working class representatives, for working class organization, including strong fighting unions with fighting leadership, which unfortunately we don't have. Many of these union leaders are donating to and endorsing politicians like Adam Smith, politicians like Kamala Harris or Joe Biden, who are funding the genocide, who are attacking working people. We need to break that, and we need fighting leadership in all of these organizations. We need mass working class organizations to build this movement and organize the masses.
Comrade Dust, do you have any final question for our guest?
No, I'm just really inspired. I can't. It's hard to imagine in North Carolina where the farthest left you get is those corporate Democrats, or like the leader of the NAACP is best friends with the sheriff, and just the treatment of undocumented immigrants and the ICE raids that have been happening. And then even within the immigrant community, they attack the protesters in LA out of ignorance, not only out of ignorance, but out of survival. I don't want my business to be attacked and extorted by the cops if I don't say this or do that. And I just think it's inspiring what you guys are doing over there in Seattle. And I'd love to see the minimum wage get above $7.25. But I think I just add that what you're saying really goes into, my studying of Marxism, that everything we got, we won. Nothing was
Right.
given to us.
You're damn right.
And
Damn fucking right,
everything
comrade.
is class struggle. So, I mean, you can put anybody in a position and they will sell out whether they want to or not, unless they have that base and that power built to do something about it. And thank you so much for your work. And I recommend folks get on their website and check it out. I know I'm going to.
Yeah, and if I
Yep.
can just add really briefly to that, we
Yep.
have people in North Carolina who are organizing around this campaign, who are phone banking for this campaign, who donated, people in Chapel Hill and Raleigh and all sorts of places, in Arkansas and Tennessee and in Iowa, wherever. We have people who are donating, people who are phone banking, people who are getting involved, because this is a fight for a national representative for working people and really an international representative for working people to show what a real working class leader looks like.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
I want to say that a lot of us on the left feel demoralized in different parts of the country. A lot of craziness is going on in Florida as well, not just North Carolina. But it really is an inspiration to see Comrade Sawant continue the struggle from Washington State. So we're here for you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's really great being here, and just to donate, to check out upcoming events. People can go to shamasawant.org. That's KSHAMASAWANT.org. shamasawant.org. Donate. Sign up to volunteer. I'm a member of Workers Strike Back, Shama's organization. We have monthly meetings. We're having one coming up on August 3rd at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, talking about these attacks on Medicaid and Medicare and how we need to defend against these attacks, but we also need to go on the offensive against these attacks to fight for free healthcare by taxing the rich. And so come out
I heard,
to
by the way, that the Republicans are planning to implement a lot of the so-called big, beautiful bills, anti-working class measures post midterms, so they won't lose votes.
Yeah.
But it's been a pleasure having you on.
Yes, thank you so much for coming on, M. Smith. And everything that you guys are literally doing is so important. And liberals, pay attention when you come across this great platform. Pay attention.
Yeah, well, thank you all for having me on.
All right. And also, I want to talk about real quick. What are we doing with Chris Richards? We heard anything from
I'll be right back.
Okay, no problem. So I think we need to give a very good intro to Dus, because I feel like we didn't give Dus a real good intro, actually, because Dus is a great friend of the show, and Dus is also a trucker, one of the greatest comrades I have ever had the personal love and respect to have on the show. And it's good to see you back here, comrade, so much from that beautiful land, the land where I also have ties, indigenous and being black, North Carolina, that gorgeous, beautiful land that I need to go back and visit when I get more money.
Thank you
How's
so
it
much.
going, brother?
Doing all right. That was a very pleasant surprise to have someone that's on the ground, making real victories, organizing working people to start off the show.
Right.
I was just invited on because it was Comrade Suarez's last show on. And I've been wanting to come on here for a while. I've been watching it. I couldn't watch it on the Roku TV because
all right.
I couldn't figure it out. But
yeah, it's all right. We're back.
But, I've been watching the clips, and it's been pretty good.
Thank you, comrade. Yeah, I've also saw you commenting as well too, and I really, really, really appreciate that, because I was just thinking like, oh my God, like the YouTube clips are, is anybody caring? Is anybody caring? And it was really much appreciation to see.
By the way, that comrade that came on the show, she's the campaign manager for the congressional campaign for Sawant, and I was in direct contact with Comrade Sawant. She was unavailable this time, but yeah, we have that connection now, and I'd love to alliance between Revolutionary Alliance and Revolutionary Workers. I don't know why, but Comrade Sawant's no longer part of Socialist Alternative, but she's with the Strike Back group, the Revolutionary Workers now. I don't know much about the politics of Washington State, but definitely would like to work with them, and I'm glad that she was able to come on.
Wait. Hold on, my brother. Why are you trying to say that you don't know why she left Socialist Alternative? We all know why she left Socialist Alternative.
When the campaign manager was on, I said I don't know much about Washington State politics. I've admired our Comrade Sawant for a long time. I never.
Does you know about Socialist Alternative?
What's that?
You know about Socialist Alternative, Dust?
I've heard the name. I think I've read their publication a few times, looked at some of their websites and stuff. I didn't really know much about it until I came on the show, and I was. It sounds like they're doing good work over there.
Well, I'm about to say some shit real quick. I'm sorry, I have to say this to the fact that
you know why? Because I have no idea.
Yeah. So their whole basis on Syria enough it pisses me off. I want to know if Socialist Alternatives still support Al Jilani. If anyone that has contacts.
I had no idea they supported him. Really?
They supported Idlib. They supported overthrowing Assad and all that shit. And they I wonder if they changed their tone after we saw what we saw. So I'd have to throw that out there.
Okay, that could have been.
A lot of people get confused, especially. Well, I don't want to talk stuff about Suarez, but a lot of Suarez is my favorite person of his political persuasion. On geopolitics.
I agree.
On geopolitics, because a lot of folks who, well, this wasn't good and they don't recognize this, they have a purist aesthetic where if it ain't good enough, then we're not going to deal with it, even to the point of allowing U.S. imperialism to overthrow gains of what people have made over there. And it is possible for someone to do good here and to march in the street, but then to completely be ignorant or even harmful on foreign policy issues. And you just got to struggle with them. But I mean, it is the same struggle. I mean, it's the same corporations here that are taking our wages and taking our rights and keeping us in power, exploiting us, that are destroying countries, destroying people's movements.
There's also there's two types of Trotskyists. There's Orthodox Trotskyists, which I've never been, and then there's the non-Orthodox Trotskyists that we realize that you have to support anti-imperialism in different ways. So if the sectarian Orthodox types are like, this government isn't exactly the type of socialism that I want, then the overthrow by Islamofascists, like that's
right?
Years, basically, right?
That's your only option?
It brings me back to the ISO and Libya in my college days.
Yeah.
It was disgusting.
ISO,
those guys.
Yeah, the way I was harassed for saying, "Hey, don't overthrow the richest country in Africa. Not a good idea." And they're like he's a dictator. We're staying out of this. Like, what?
Al Qaeda controls Benghazi. It's split in 2 or 3 governments now, and one of them is controlled Al Qaeda in Libya. That was the alternative you had to Gaddafi.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Alex, you one of my favorite Trotskyists ever, man. Like I told you this before. You're the only one out of all the Trotskys that I've had so many arguments with. Like, I don't understand why they're not as
well. I met with DSA members in Venezuela that were supporting Maduro, who called themselves Trotskyists, and some of them actually got to meet Maduro. I didn't get to meet him that time.
Right.
So there was Trotsky supporters of Chavez. There's Trotsky supporters of Maduro. So not all, I would say most of the revolutionary faction of the DSA are Trotskyists. There's bourgeois reformists within DSA that still want to support AOC. I'm not saying DSA is a monolith or that I support them completely, but they have elements within that are the same exact type of Trotskyists as I am. I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
There's malice in DSA. There's a variety.
I was going to say, there's some pretty good DSA organizers. I'm not going to lie. They put in a lot of good work here in Connecticut too. I definitely respect what they do in working class solidarity. I can't get on them as much as I would like.
By the way, is the governor of North Carolina still a Democrat?
I think so. I'm not actually sure.
He's probably like a right-wing Democrat. So even states that are controlled or have a governor that's Democrat, you still have low minimum wage.
Mean, Cooper, the Republicans in North Carolina are fascist, like straight up. Like they allow our rivers to be polluted and then give tax write-offs to the corporations. They lock up black and brown people. They make the police ICE. And what's the alternative? Oh, not like I think the Democrat, while he was in office, I think the coal ash happened. The spill happened while he was in office or something. But it was, I don't know. It's just a PR stunt. It's like you can get beat up.
Comrade Chris, you just missed Comrade Sawant's campaign manager. Was on here talking. You missed it, man.
It happens. I'm sorry. I had to. My wife needed me, and I am running late as a result. I'm sorry about that.
No, I'm sure it was an emergency. I didn't think the contrary. But you'll see the recording of it. This show, unlike when we had Roku TV, the whole thing's going to be out there on YouTube. So don't worry.
Yeah, we're back. We're back, Chris. We're going.
And he missed my opening statement, but that's okay. You'll see it in the recording, or I'll put the text of it out on my blog.
So we have Comrade Chris Richards from Eclectic Radical. Y'all should be listening to that. He goes into some very good in-depth freaking topics that you can hear a lot of good information on. And one of the reasons why I love this man is that he's a historian as well too. And you learn some shit on that show that you haven't freaking heard. So definitely all these links is going to be in. Everybody's links is going to be in on the details. Comrade
Jamar, you and Comrade Richards is going to have something in common now.
What?
Because I used to be co-host to his show too. So now that I'm moving on, you're the former co-host of both of you. Yeah.
Very true. Very true.
I was never Dust's co-host, but I was a guest.
Pretty close, reoccurring guest.
You
pushed me to do those last few episodes. I probably wouldn't have done them. Otherwise.
Yeah, I don't know how active you've been on it, but I was just guest a few times on Anti-Imperialist America.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Chris, we were talking about the toxic assholes in North Carolina of the Republican Party, how they just want
lots of those
right? Pollute all of that beautiful land in North Carolina, that beautiful, gorgeous land. North Carolina will always have a special place in my heart, clearly, because my ties there. But still, though, like, fuck them. Like, it just makes no sense. At this point, we are in a fascist country. Do you guys agree with that? Like, we're straight up like on the cusp.
I would say we're in a quasi-fascistic country. There's still some opposition that hasn't been wiped out yet, because once it's totally wiped out, then we're fully fascist. But it's nearing there.
I mean, it's not whether it's fascist or not isn't a matter of whether there's opposition, and whether it's fascist or not is based on what the government does. Right now, the government's doing fascist shit. It's fascist. The government's been doing fascist shit for quite some time, actually.
My position to the oppressed people, it's always been fascist.
Yeah, exactly.
And when they founded the country, they at the very beginning, not to the extent they allowed a certain set more, they broadened the segment of rights for a group of white people.
Yes.
They kind of expanded that with the 1940s, the New Deal. But for oppressed people, it's always been fascist.
Yes.
And now in economic downturn, they're convincing the people who are losing rights to support fascists. And it's disturbing. But yeah, we have and most of the South, especially in the Black Belt where there's larger black populations, we have fascist regimes, prison states, can outright
And the new ICE
taking away voter rights
everywhere. Here in Florida. Yep.
Well, I mean, Hudson County, New Jersey became an ICE profiteering community back in the first Trump term. The anti-ICE activists there have been fighting that since 2020. They still haven't gotten rid of the ICE jail that the county is contracting with ICE to run. Basically, putting county resources at ICE's disposal for federal government money. And
they didn't have enough money already, right?
It's absolutely fascist. And keep in mind that this is Hudson County, New Jersey, so we're not talking about a Republican county government that's cooperating with Trump and making money contracting with ICE. No, this is a blue county. The county government, they're all Democrats.
I had a conversation with a friend, and I'm not going to mention his name because I went to high school with him, but he is second or third generation Polish, and I tried to explain to him because I made a quote about the Ukrainian Soviet sniper that had the most Nazi heads, and he wanted to talk about when the Soviets invaded Ukraine and all this stuff. And I tried to put, first of all, I don't even put Stalin on a pedestal like that. So you could calm down with all that. But it's like he only wants to recognize his issues with the Soviet Union, that's the former Soviet Union, and doesn't want to recognize how much Nazism is related to this country. And I gave a lot of examples. A lot of examples. It's just when you say that,
if he's willing to go so.
The collaborator, the Nazi collaborator of Ukrainian descent, Bandera,
right?
He, died in Germany, but he was responsible for killing Poles, not just communists and Jews.
Well, if somebody is saying that the Soviet Union invaded Ukraine during World War II, they're so far down the propaganda hole that there's not much you can do for them anyway.
I felt that after. I felt that I did. I felt like it was a waste of my time.
How could anyone be caring about what the Soviets did in World War II when the U.S. we want to care about Ukrainian sovereignty? The U.S. orchestrated a Nazi-backed coup of a legitimate, democratically elected government that was neutral. That is an infringement on Ukrainian people's sovereignty, and that's the U.S. and NATO doing it.
Yes.
Yeah, man, it's just sad. It's the propaganda is very deep, and they're using like you guys are saying, they're using the right wing to get people to think, oh, this is better to think about, and it's the podcast comedians' fault as well too, and they want to act like they're not, they're not a part of it now that things are going the way they didn't think it was going to go. I don't know why the fuck they thought. I mean, well, the white persuasion is very.
Zelensky's going to go exile at any time, and he's going to be replaced by a Ukrainian general that's more friendly with the Russians.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up. I wanted to get you guys thoughts on that. They actually showed articles. I don't want to bring up the articles about how Zelensky was being protested against. We all know that the country's under martial law, so if there's protests, that means it's definitely for something.
It's got to be really bad. If they're still showing up for that, they're tired of being drafted. They're tired of being oppressed by the Zelensky regime.
Yeah, and it's there's these anti-corrupt organizations that I covered. Yeah, and that's what they're
pro-Russia. Anybody against Zelensky is pro-Russia, according to him.
Yeah, but those guys are funded by the United States. So do you guys think Zelensky's time is up? Whoever wants to go first. What do you think?
I don't know. I had a friend who was in the Communist Party of Ukraine, and right after the coup happened, his party was outlawed and forced to go underground. Yeah. So I mean, it's a fascist government. I don't care if the guy who they elected is Jewish. That doesn't mean that's a better figurehead to run a fascist state.
He
that
promised
was,
peace
that
with
was
Russia.
carrying out genocide against ethnic Russians.
Remember,
it's absolutely disgusting.
Back early on in the war, when he was trying to work out some sort of peace with Putin, and the Ukrainian Nazis assassinated Zelensky's own chief negotiator to put the government in its place and remind them who's actually in charge.
I forgot about that.
If this opposition wasn't backed by the United States, they'd be imprisoned or killed.
Yeah.
So it's pretty obvious. Alex?
No, I was saying, I remember that when that happened, that was coming back from the Minsk negotiations.
Yes.
Assassinated that negotiator.
Yeah, the Azov assassinated the negotiator, claimed he was a traitor, said it was a legitimate execution, and Zelensky basically had to accept it. There wasn't much he could do about it, which
he's a coward.
Which goes to show how much power that the Nazis have in the military when even the president has to accept that sort of outlawry.
But I feel him blaming Russia kind of like helped the liberals feel like there was some vindication, because based off the response that I got off of TikTok with liberals, they wasn't buying that the anti-corruption groups that he tried to take over into law weren't American funded. They were saying, well, Zelensky said that they are Russian funded, and it's like they still want to believe the nonstop Ukrainian
the anti-corruption groups are the groups that Barack Obama forced on the Ukrainian government in return for letting them take power.
They don't even know their own Democrat president policies.
Because that was the whole thing. That was what Biden was supposedly doing in Ukraine for Obama when Hunter Biden got that job, is that Biden was working with the Ukrainian DA who later got, Attorney General, who later got fired.
It's selective amnesia. These liberals want to say that they're pro-Russia now, ignoring the fact that they were started by Obama.
Yeah.
So they're saying Obama was a Russian agent then.
Remember now, there was that time where Trump was actually trying to claim that Obama and Hillary Clinton were Russian agents. That was actually part of the anti-Russiagate propaganda he was spewing back
in exchange for
2018.
The Clinton Foundation, in exchange for so-called donations from Putin, sold a third of our uranium to the Russians.
That's what Trump called attention to when he said Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama were Russian agents.
I don't think Obama was involved with it, but the Clintons certainly had business with the Russians.
Well, that deal was not with, quote, the Russians. It was with an energy company run by an oligarch who's like a pro-CIA asset. So it's not really honest when people say the Russians in that situation. Sure, the guy's a Russian, but he's working for us.
Or maybe
but at the same time, the reason he's working for us is because he does have ties with Putin, and he's supposedly one of those people who makes back channel conversations.
Right.
So let's move on real quick to Epstein. This whole situation, because it's very, very important that for listeners to understand that the Democrats and the Republicans are both at fault into the situation. It's not just let's put it on Trump. He is also at fault as much as Bill Clinton is. And I think that there was a conspiracy that they're saying, oh, King Charles is trying to protect his brother and all this stuff. Like, there's just so many, and I feel like it's a distraction, because
when Trump went to Scotland recently, they were holding signs, saying he's on Epstein's list. It's like wherever he goes, like he's thinking, I'm finally going to get a break from this Epstein crap and leave the United States. Let me go golf in Scotland. And they show up, and
there are also environmental protesters there in Scotland who are really, really pissed at him because his golf course in Scotland destroyed this rare floating sand dune habitat.
Wow.
because in order to build the golf course, they had to anchor the floating dunes, because obviously you can't build any sort of stable surface onto floating.
Did you hear about the 82-year-old Irishman that was deported from New York, who was an IRA, like he was pardoned in 1983 for having tried to buy rockets for the IRA, and so he was living in the United States for over 40 years, and now they deported him back to Ireland, and I think the reason why they picked this guy. He's not a threat to anybody. He's 82 years old. He's been living in the country peacefully for over 40 years. Is they finally picked this guy to deport? They said, okay, they're saying we're only deporting brown people.
Right. I was going to say.
Also, the thing is, let's think about it. You're deporting Irish terrorists back to Ireland, where they might be tempted to do terror again, as opposed to keeping them in the U.S. where they're safe and won't hurt anybody.
Yeah. And you know what? Is it wrong for me?
Technically, Ireland's at peace, but it's important to understand that there is a group that calls itself the Real Irish Republican Army.
They're
at war with the British.
Yeah.
Our occupation is peace. Like it's still northern occupation.
Ireland is occupied, though. Yes.
Yeah. The you're referring to Comrade Dust James, the Good Friday. What was it called? The Good Friday.
Well, the Good Friday Accord to the
there's peace amongst the groups, but I want
occupation. The occupation of Northern Ireland has been ongoing since the 1920 treaty.
Yes, this is actually a fact, and people should.
And the Irish fought a civil war over that treaty. The Irish conservatives killed Michael Collins over that treaty.
Yeah, and we covered this as well too a long time ago with a Palestinian organizer by the name of Jaffa, who was living in Northern Ireland. He was living in Northern Ireland, and she was living in Northern Ireland, and she talked about how the occupation is still there while she was getting her master's degree. So
Irish are supportive of the Palestinians because they've experienced being controlled by a foreign occupying,
and because they're still partitioned like the Palestinians.
Yeah, definitely. And Northern Ireland is supposed to be part of Ireland. So,
Chris, did you bring up once that there actually was Irish Protestants that were part of the independence movement as well?
Well, the president of the United Irishmen during the big rising before the Civil War in the U.S. was Wolfe Tone. Wolfe Tone was a Protestant.
And I think there was others too, because it wasn't just a religious war. It wasn't a war between.
Well, no, there were
Protestants that supported the independence from the British as well.
Well, the original pro-independence people were actually members of what they called the Anglican establishment, who were the Anglo-Irish landowners. They wanted independence because they thought that their rights in the British Parliament were not being properly respected. And that led to what was called the Irish Confederate Wars, where at first they were fighting against Charles I, and then they were fighting for Charles I against Cromwell. And that meant that after the king fell, you had Cromwell's awful invasion of Ireland.
And now we got Kneecap repping Palestine. So whatever. Free Palestine, damn it. And the news, so guys, apparently there's I don't know if you heard, but there's a ceasefire apparently, or it's a pause on.
Are you talking about a ceasefire between Ukraine
Israeli
and Russia?
Occupation?
Israelis and the Palestinians.
I was moving to Gaza real quick.
Yeah.
Apparently, like they're pausing their Israeli occupation.
The thing is, these airdrops, they intentionally drop aid on tents, killing people.
They talk about humanitarian pauses and temporary ceasefires all the time, and Israel has never once ceased firing. So I don't care what they're saying. It's more bullshit. The last time they said they were doing a humanitarian pause they blew up Khan Yunis anyway or something like that.
Yeah, they're shooting people that are going to try to pick up food. It's
Yeah.
just massive cruelty that you've seen rarely in human history. This bad, man.
Yeah. It's definitely a reminder for people to understand that no government that you want to say is a great government will allow this type of funding to this degree.
The people responsible for the Rwandan genocide are looking at the president of Rwanda and saying these Israelis are worse than us.
And that's a statement.
Well, it's just like the ICC. Right, the ICC is in trouble now, right? It's getting sanctioned. The ICC, when they went after African leaders, the West was fine with that. When they started going after Western-backed leaders in Israel, that's a different question. And the same thing happened with WikiLeaks. You remember WikiLeaks in the beginning was getting praised by a lot of the bourgeois press in the West because they were focusing in on the corruption from some African leaders. As soon as they turned their scope on the West and the hypocrisy of the West, then WikiLeaks became demonized and became targets.
Yeah, and then you got Assange getting locked up and everything. Now he's out and everything. I really think that we're literally
Khalil is out. I mentioned Khalil in my statement. That's yes. And the very first thing he did was join a protest when he got out.
And then the very next thing he did was appear with Bernie Sanders, who supports the genocide.
Yeah, that was kind of a misdirection. At least he's showing bravery against the imperialists that had just jailed him.
Hey, no, I mean, I've heard lots of weird stuff about him, and I don't know what to believe. I know that he works in a British government position related to the British embassy in Syria, which is like spooky stuff.
Yeah, he used to live in Syria, right? That was one of the countries they were considering sending him to, either that or Algeria. I think he has Algeria.
He was in the UK embassy in Syria, and that's the sort of thing that if he had been working at the US embassy in Syria, we'd all be saying he was CIA.
We're speaking about Assange.
No, we're talking about Khalil.
Khalil.
Palestinian permanent resident that was a negotiator in
Colombia, right?
Protests, yeah.
Yep.
He's a UK citizen who seems like he may have worked for MI6.
I've heard that. I have heard though that as well too. And it's one of those things that it's like, oh man. But
by the way, did you hear about this, Chris? We mentioned it before you came on, where we were speculating why Comrade Sawant left Social Alternative. I didn't think it was appropriate to ask that to her campaign manager. That wasn't the focus. But Comrade Jamar brought up something that I never heard about. He says Social Alternative at one point was actually supporting Jelani.
Well, I don't know anything about that. I don't pay a lot of attention to those organizations lately.
Yeah, but she's with
I meant that
now in Strike Back, but yeah.
I meant that they have shown support to want to overthrow Assad, and they have shown support to Idlib in their
Yeah, Idlib was the headquarters of Jelani, so that's a support for Jelani.
Yeah. They have shown that.
Thanks for having Kovalik on. If you want anyone to speak on Syria, he's the.
Oh, we had him on recently.
Yeah, you got him on
a couple times. Yeah,
that was great.
He actually revealed that a Republican senator, I think it was Lindsey Graham. He didn't name him, but he said a Republican senator from the state where Lindsey Graham is from. I forget what state it was, but I looked it up.
North Carolina.
Yeah, it is North Carolina where you're at, Dustin. But I'm pretty sure it was Lindsey Graham. He said a Republican senator from North Carolina contacted the
North or South.
I don't remember, but I think it was Lindsey Graham. But anyways, he said that this senator had contacted the Syrian Alawite group that he was representing at the UN, and they actually ousted him after that from political pressure. That's too bad, but he still has ties in Syria. He was brave enough to go to Syria while Jelani had taken over, because Jelani, I'm sure, knows about Kovalik. And luckily he wasn't arrested when he went there. But he said some interesting things on the show.
Yeah, Dan Kovalik is a great guy. Shouts out to Dan Kovalik if you see this, Dan. It was Alex. Alex was the one that was able to connect us with Dan Kovalik.
Well, I know Dan personally. Met him a few times. We were in Venezuela together too. Yeah.
I think when we talk about Syria, we got to talk about the absolute devastation. Like 1,000-year-old churches, like a basic standard of living, infrastructure, working water, electricity. From that to absolute devastation, destroyed buildings, and fascist absolute anarchy in the streets and mass murder. It's
between
disgusting.
ISIS, the Turks, and Assad, it was already a mess before Jelani took over and after Assad was ousted. And now it's like, oh my gosh, ISIS is basically...
Erdogan is probably the biggest hypocrite in history, maybe followed by Sisi of Egypt. But like, he's not only doing business with the Israelis, he's working with the Israelis to control the regime in Syria.
And at the same time, the Israelis are attacking Syria while he's sucking up to them.
While Jelani's sucking up to them, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's how he is.
I just don't understand that. I don't understand why people don't question that. It's like you put this guy in office and now you're bombing him.
He literally
Like,
responded
no
to Israel bombing his the ministry by saying the state of Israel. So he made a communique for the first time, recognizing them as a state. Oh, dear state of Israel, stop bombing us, or whatever. Like, that's how much of a sellout he is.
I like how Rwanda was raised earlier, and I like how because we know about Rwanda because of the movie. Rwanda, and the reason why we know about the movie is because they wanted to use that tragedy to push for more military intervention.
Yes.
In Africa. So that's why they painted it as such a horrible genocide. But we don't hear about the genocide. That's the imperialist media. We don't hear about the genocide that happened to the ethnic Russians in Ukraine. We don't hear about Israel. Only when it's in their interest do we ever hear about it. Do we ever hear about the crimes against humanity?
Paul Kagame, the president of Rwanda, is Bill Gates' favorite dictator.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think it's important that we talk about what Rwanda is doing as well too, because it's one of those heartbreakers that
Rwanda and Uganda are in charge of making sure that Congo delivers everything it's supposed to deliver to the Western Silicon Valley interests.
And 15 million people have died in this process.
We have Burkina Faso, we have Niger. We have other countries that are starting to unite to oppose the imperialists, and particularly the French imperialists. So there's still some progress going on.
Yeah, but I don't know if they can stop Rwanda, Uganda, though, comrade. I like it's.
I'm not saying they are, but
they basically have the power between them to unseat Congolese governments at will. They settled the last two Congolese civil wars to their liking and put their people in charge both times.
So maybe they can do that in Rwanda too, but they have to focus on uniting before they would intervene there. Yeah, I mean, it's better Africans intervening for other Africans than the West coming in.
Yes. No. Don't get me wrong.
The West isn't going to come in anyway because Uganda and Rwanda are thugs for the West.
Yeah, they're pro-West anyways. This is the hypocrisy.
They're ECOWAS members as well too, right? Both countries, are they both ECOWAS members?
That's a good question. Let me see.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, while he's looking that up, I need to get going. I committed to an hour. Keep in touch, comrades. Okay.
About to head out right now. Okay. All right. We're going to finish the show.
You guys are no longer
Hey, thanks for inviting me on, Suarez.
Hell yeah.
That was a good time talking to you, brother.
All right.
Have a good one. Text us.
Come on, load here.
I think part of the point I was making, I think, Paul, a lot of the confusion around Syria is the reason why Syria was able to stay as stable as it was for so long was Russian support. And we're told that the Russians are the biggest and baddest and evilest colonizer that ever existed. And then when the U.S. forced escalation in Ukraine and troops get bogged down and resources got taken away, next thing we know, the complete destruction of Syria without Russian support.
The ECOWAS answer is no. ECOWAS is further up in West Africa, in Liberia, Sierra Leone, etc., the Gambia.
Got you. No, but this is definitely a problem. I really when I think about all of these imperialist endeavors and stuff like that, I really want to make sure that people understand that we are all connected tax dollar wise to these imperials endeavors. I mean, they're called M21 is what Rwanda is using, the mercenaries M21. I believe that's the name of them. And the damage and the significant just genocide, honestly, of what's happening to the Congolese people, just need it's not as much highlighted purposely. It's really not as much highlighted at all. And it's important that we talk about that, because a lot of people really don't know, like, of the numbers and the devastation that's going on over there.
Come on.
Oh, what you looking for, Chris?
Oh, I am pulling up the amount of time that war's been going on now.
Yeah. There was a recent ceasefire with Qatar.
Yeah.
But I feel like that ceasefire is over from what I last read, that Rwanda's like back with the Nazis. M23. Okay.
Well, I think part of the escalation of aggression in Africa is the positive things that are happening in Africa.
Yeah.
They're being resisted. They're being resisted. There's a growing block for African unity. There's social programs helping African people that's directly taking money out of the imperialists, and they're angry and they don't like it, and they're going to scratch and claw to try to destroy it. I don't think they can, though. The people are organized. The people aren't going to put up with it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that's what we're seeing, and it's just sad that the numbers are just increasing. And it's just showing just how much, with Burkina Faso and the Sahel Alliance, and what they're doing after kicking out the European and U.S. influence.
They were members of ECOWAS and have left.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they were former members of
they
ECOWAS.
left.
Yeah.
The Sahel Front all left ECOWAS as part of their protest against the French.
Yeah, ECOWAS has to die. For people that are listening, that's basically the NATO African equivalent that is ran and controlled by Western influence. And they got all the billionaires and dictators that are doing all the nonsense they can, and they are militarily strong to keep their hold. So people, we have to oppose ECOWAS just like we oppose NATO. Literally the same thing. And
or the Organization of American States, for that matter.
And the reason why people call Rwanda the Israel of Africa is because their political ideology with this government is that they use the Rwandan genocide as a justification to do what they're doing. 24/7, they will remind you. Like, it's just insane how their ideology is. I'm glad that we're talking about this, because I don't really talk about Rwanda as much.
It basically, the official line of the Kagame government is because we were able to take shelter in Congo and invade Rwanda and take power, and our enemies can't be allowed to do that.
Right. How dare you guys think that you could just...
How dare anybody? And their excuse is their enemies, but of course, what they're actually doing is setting up groups. Originally, it was the Congolese Liberation Army, and the Congolese Liberation Army took over the government for Uganda and Rwanda, and then that government fell out with Rwanda and Uganda because they wanted to be more independent and do things more their own way and keep more of their own money from their own resources. And so the M23 group was created by Rwanda in order to fight the Congolese Liberation Army government that had been set up by Rwanda before. It's just, wow.
Yeah, and they're getting all the beautiful weapons they can from us, which is why
it's even better. It's the proxy setup is it goes from us to Israel to Rwanda.
Yeah. Rwanda is also a very small country like Israel. The comparison is insane.
Yes, you compare the size of Rwanda to the size of Congo, and then consider that Rwanda is the one with the military backed by the U.S. that's invading the bigger country.
Literally, like it's just so insane. Like the Congo should be able to stop them with no problem, but at the end of the day, because of how the situation is with the Westerners keeping them destabilized, they can't.
Well,
really
Congo's institutions have been under constant attack from the West since, before they killed Lumumba.
Yeah. Extra Bola, thank you so much, my guy. He's another great podcaster, progressive on the Chicago area. Talks about a lot of great stuff. He has a secret show, by the way, around 12 a.m. usually. Chicago time is where the secret show go on. So make sure you guys check out that secret show. Whoever listening, check out Extra Bola. Thank you guys so much for coming on. If you guys want to give your handles of where people could follow you and stuff, and if you have any important information to give out as well too, definitely share that as well.
Well, I'm the host of The Eclectic Radical, which is a show about culture and politics and propaganda. Just yesterday, I did a show about the first season of a show called the Collective Action Comics Podcast, which is an analysis of the Reagan era through the comics of the period. Their second season is an analysis of the War on Terror through Mark Miller's The Ultimates. And there's a great analogy of criminal justice in the 90s through the lens of the life and death of Superman that just finished in his third season. So I recommend people check him out too. But my show's The Eclectic Radical. I'm The Eclectic Radical on YouTube, on Twitter, on Patreon, on Substack. Try to make it easy for people. Eclectic Radical.
Thank you, Chris.
Sure. Yeah, I'm Dust James. It was an honor to be invited on. It's good to see all the comrades here. I had a YouTube show. I haven't been working on it for a while, but folks can just follow my thoughts on Twitter at DustJames90. I put periodic stuff, mostly analyzing progressive and revolutionary elements within rural American culture. An analyst on country music, traditional and underground, and trying to tie that in with anti-imperialist and socialist politics.
Thank you so much, guys. And I'm definitely going to bring you guys back on very, very soon, by the way.
Thank you very much for having me. Sorry I was late.
No, it's okay. It's all right. Things happen. And this was really good to see you, comrades. So make sure you guys follow them. I'm going to make sure I put the link in the description as well, too. And thank you all so much for tuning in. This is the first live episode in such a long time. No longer on Roku TV. And there's nothing wrong, by the way. There's no problem with Roku TV. We are all on good terms with Connect Hub. Shouts out to Connect Hub, Roku TV. So it's ended on good terms. But we're back on YouTube. So like, share, subscribe, and please get a part of some organizational movement that is on the socialist perspective, and let's bring socialism to America, because goddamn, these fascists are doing too much. And without that being said, have a really good night, and please sleep.
Blank period, yeah. I'm a black, brown, and indigenous. Gotta holler if you really feeling this. Gotta holler if you really real enough. Other rappers is delirious. Yeah, it's really that serious. Better holler if you really feeling me. I gotta keep it 100, ayy. If you don't like it, then fuck it, ayy. We gonna win in the end, yeah, we gonna live in abundance. I gotta keep it 100, ayy. If you don't like it, then fuck it, ayy. We gonna win in the end, yeah, we gonna. I gotta keep it 100. We gotta stop all the stunting. You know we coming from nothing. Yo, you talking about money, you bluffing. We gotta do something different. We gotta change how we live in. We gotta do better for women. We gotta do better for children. We gotta listen to victims, whether Jewish or Muslim or Christian. It doesn't matter your religion. You gotta stand against the system, or else you just another villain. How you just sitting there chilling?